Hi, everybody. I'm John Messer, the executive of the Regional Center of the Great Lakes and Leadership Development Catalyst for Luminix. Today, I'd like to talk to you about moving beyond delegation. As leaders, we all know that delegation is important, and maybe you've even been to the passage, you've preached on the passage, or you've studied the passage in Exodus 18, where Jethro gives his son-in-law Moses wonderful advice about getting out of the rut that he has developed because he's spending so much time adjudicating the people's problems. Um, so Jethro tells him, well, you need to delegate. But I want to share with you that delegation is not the only point, and delegation actually is a subordinate point to what Jethro was really telling Moses. So let's take a look at a couple verses here real quick. In Exodus 18:19 to 23, um, we're looking at Jethro's advice to his son-in-law. And he says, you must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions and show them the way they are to live and how they are to behave. So Moses very clearly has a unique calling. He is the people's teacher. He is the one who is to demonstrate how they're to live, how they're to behave. So why the problem then with this adjudication? Well, let's look at that. See, Moses was distracted by fulfilling the ministry of adjudicating all the people's problems. He felt that he was supposed to do that, and being a faithful and diligent minister like so many of the people who are overburdened are, he was trying to do it all himself. The problem was his adjudication was kind of a side gig. It wasn't the primary gig. Moses' primary calling was to teach and to model. And so this adjudication thing was something that came up, and he was being diligent, he was being faithful. And his father-in-law had to come from the outside and recognize that he was being distracted. He was being distracted from his primary calling. So the reason we delegate is not for the sake just of delegation. We certainly do want to share leadership. We certainly want to delegate to capable people. But delegation is done in order that I can fulfill my unique calling. There are things that you have a capacity to do that only you can do. You have a unique calling. I think that's represented in Ephesians 2:10, where it says to do the good works God prepared in advance for you to do. And I think sometimes we get so bound up in the ministry of trying to do everything that we think that delegation then is the solution. Well, it is part of the solution. But if you're going to delegate, just remember that the point of delegating is to enable you to do what only you can do. One of the things I learned in the military years and years ago was that officers are called to do what they can do. And quite honestly, good leaders don't do what someone else can do. They delegate that to someone else. But you do what only you can do. Not only will you benefit the congregation if you do that, but you'll benefit yourself and your family and your relationships and your mental health. So Moses, by delegating to capable persons, was able to spend time teaching and accomplishing the ministry that only he can do. And by the way, if you're teaching the people how to live and how to walk with God, the demand for their squabble solutions is going to be much lower. And so you're actually solving the problem from both ways. You're delegating to others to handle it, and you're reducing the overall need of that kind of adjudication. So delegation isn't just for organizational efficiency. It's a strategy that we use as leaders so that we can do what we're called to do, so that others can do what they're called to do, so that the church benefits, so that the kingdom ultimately is the beneficiary. So my challenge for you today as church leaders, go beyond delegation. You'll be a blessing to your church, and you'll be faithful to God. God bless you. Thanks.